Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, who wants every person who lives in Gaza to have a beautiful home and to be adorned with all of the beautiful things of life. Today is the night of January 27th of 2025, and it is a day in history. Today is the day that we, the people of Gaza, have awoken from a nightmare. The nightmare that lasted for 1 year and 4 months, when we were trapped in hell and in total nightmare, discouraged, hungry, malnourished, living in a tent with no clean water, unfurnished. People with nice lives judging us, who have no idea what it's like to be a refugee. They had their back turned on our pain. They did things that made no sense and things that will never make sense because they are liars and liars and liars. 1 million lies, pretending things never happened. People who loved us could not save us when we needed them the most. We have sacrificed our home. We've sacrificed our family. We've sacrificed our mind. We've sacrificed our health. We've sacrificed our bodies. Sacrifices on sacrifices for the people of Gaza. And Allahu Akbar for today, the return of the people to North Gaza. Why did why did all of these sacrifices happen? Because there was someone trying to make an artificial reality. We have now uncovered the top secret blueprints of a super weapon system used by world governments. This is a super weapon designed to make an artificial reality. Because we are millions and they are not. When 1 million people march on any capital, the thrones are shaken by the thunder of our footsteps. Evil people, they want to be more powerful than 1 million men. They want to control others. And because they need to control others, they are power hungry to make their artificial reality. And even then, in their artificial reality, they had some fragment of a feeling of self-preservation. This super weapon that I'm going to describe today is 10 years old, and it relies on technology 100 years old. This power these super weapons are the power of 1 million men in the hand of one man. And this is a level of power that mankind has never known. It must be known that all of the people in Israel get $4,000 a month in exchange to be in that military until they're 40 years old. What kind of people have come to Israel for military service, knowing what the purpose of that military is? What kind of people are these? This is all of the people of the world who would take 4,000 bucks for death. It's blood money. All of them. And without this super weapon, it is 100% guaranteed that the 300 journalists would be alive, that those 400 doctors would be alive, and that they depended on this artificial reality to keep these unconscionable acts, to continue them. This super weapon immediately focused on journalists and doctors. And if those 300 journalists were alive, they would have told you a secret story. If those 400 doctors were alive, they would have saved the life of thousands upon thousands of people. I have 3 keystone stories that help uncover the super weapon. And the this top secret information is uncovered through the story of those journalists and those doctors that died to get that information to you. They were deprived of their life so that you would have this information. So what I found so far, October 10th, which is 3 days into the bombardments, there is a notice for the evacuation of the Hajj Tower in Gaza City. And within minutes, when this multi-story building was evacuated, those people who would have, and these are media offices, it was a media office that was going to be demolished by airstrikes. And when the people went to try to capture this evidence of this attack or this demolishing, when they tried to get those video records for us, when they tried to get us the story, they were airstruck, and not the structure that was said to be airstruck. So um, that is a smoking gun evidence, because all of the people moved into another building, even with the communications from supposed IDF. Everybody went into that building. Lots of people were in that building because they thought that it wasn't going to go down. So what it did was transfer everyone from one to into one target. Another example, the other keystone for the idea of the revelation that these are super weapons is the a, a teacher that was targeted, Rifat al-Arir. He was he had taken shelter in a school, and he had survived one of the 2 black massacres. These are mass exterminations. The first mass extermination was December in Jabalia. And there was actually, that was 3 mass exterminations: Beit Hanun in November, Jabalia in December, and Rafah in May. So he went walking down the street to see that all of the buildings that that the society needed, like the schools, the medical offices, the food centers, anything that was vital to keeping the people alive was demolished by airstrikes. And in that moment, and seeing that is so profoundly impactful to walk on the street of the apocalypse. And he was he was someone who was more powerful than the average person walking down the streets. And if he had lived, he would have been the first one to tell the world. And so within a couple of days, he is threatened at his home. He tries to take refuge in a school. He is geolocated at the school and told that the school will be struck with just to get him. And for that reason, he tried to divert and he fled back home. He was killed at home with his family. And the last example is the World Central Kitchen attack on April Fool's Day. And that is another keystone story for uncovering that super weapon because of the way that the killing unfolded. And the World Central Kitchen one is one that I am going to discuss in this revelation of this super weapon, secret blueprint, top secret plans of Netanyahu. The super weapon is made to GPS people and kill them with their family. And when this failed, there was only one alternative to the secret nefarious plans, and that was to surround them with tanks and to kill them in close combat. And where he found them was at the hospitals. And Netanyahu and his army are people who surrounded the hospitals and mercilessly killed all of the injured patients, all of the people around the hospital. He did, as I said, the 3 mass exterminations, which required blackout. And the reason why is that they were 10,000 people killed within 5 days. And that was for each of those massacres. Beit Hanun, November, Jabalia, December, and Rafah, May. If the 300 journalists and the 400 doctors were there in those mass exterminations, they would have told the entire world what Netanyahu did, and no IDF soldier would ever walk free on this earth again, not even a 19-year-old female infotech soldier. They will go to prison. If you do not do something that you should have done and it kills someone, that is killer neglect. And those Israelis have done killer neglect day after day, and they never stop. There are now 100,000 people in Gaza killed, and there was 37,000 people on the kill list. There is additionally another 100,000 people killed by starvation, by siege. There are no innocent souls in Israel today. We are going to look at the satellite images of Gaza, where I'm going to read to you a couple of writings in honor of Gaza. It's everything about Gaza. And then I'm going to read you the unveiling of this super weapon made to that is trying to generate an artificial reality by GPSing people and killing all of their family. I'm going to show you the evidence of that, a small batch of evidence that I have. This is a letter, March 31st of 2020, to the dictators of the world and the traitors of Europe, from the free world and those who are promised heaven. Everyone, I am telling you now a message of kindness. The destiny of mankind is not divisible. E pluribus unum, from many, one. In the name of all benevolence and mercy of humanity, there is no cult of nations that could erase million after million after million of living soul, so that the anger of the people of the world would not set upon them and arrest entirely such an evil plot against life. But lo, they are ever unbelievers, that a safeguard is fastened upon our existence, so that the drive for death is a self-extinguishing manner, farthest most from the glory of creation, which is the only adornment of glory. No foundation of new beginning nor formulation could ever endure on the path of the treacherous, because even their own bodies are through it brought to summary. It is made impossible for evil to prevail anywhere except when good men do nothing there. The silent death that the dictators set from the palm of their hand, a spreading plague unto the inheritors of the land, which they have put in their hearts to engulf our earth. It will come upon its eternal fortune, the antidote, because there is nothing that exists except that it has an antidote. My slaves of Germany, my slaves of Spain, my slaves of Italy, my slaves of the Middle East, my slaves of India, my slaves of China, do not be discouraged, because we are with you, and they will pay. Don't be discouraged. We are with you. In the name of the mighty, there's no higher calling in life than the calling for justice. To attain glory, every man must take action upon the calling of something greater than himself. The life of a man sacrificed for one other man is not the valor that makes this act greater than himself. It is the usurpation of the enemy's power to govern the course that fills them with the pride of true honor. To recapture one's destiny from the hands of the enemy verifies and confirms our hold on what is just, and is a testimony of the untouchability in the center of the full open power of the enemy's exploitation, in the circumstance of overwhelming enemy power. In the circumstance of overwhelming enemy power, to take advantage of me could never give way to domination of the cause that I have brought to you. My cause is higher than myself, the enemy base built by the killers of our sons of our land, and I always win. This is the charter of our United Nations, and the United Nations is we the people of the world. We the people determined a mandate of sovereignty to rescue the children and youth from the scourge of war, famine, and homelessness, which has terrorized this planet, and to destroy any actors who compel plight from injustice. World War I, 24 million killed. World War II, 35 million killed. Famine in Russia, 20 million killed. War in Algeria, 1 million killed. Famine in China, 42 million killed. War in Korea, 3 million killed. War in Vietnam, 3 million killed. War in Nigeria, 3 million killed. War in Congo, 4 million killed. War, genocide in Cambodia, 3 million killed. War in Iraq and Iran, 1 million killed. War in Syria, 1 million killed. 140 million living souls have been denied life within the past 100 years of our historical record. And this is discounting the humiliation of the plague flu in 1918. Life is treasure. Life is the most prized possession. To be proud of being alive is the gift of life, is the most loving one, and it is wrongdoing to kill unjustly. Every sovereign nation is resolved upon this aim and established the Charter of the United Nations without excuse, and every cult of landowners who stand in violation are denied all recognition of sovereignty international. Every mission will be extended in the interest to maintain peace and the gift of life, and those who do not stand in accord will stand trial against the treaty. Henceforth, this charter is an oath to protect life. Its guardianship is described in a Bill of Rights, and we declare that every treaty is an agreement of good faith, and every commercial contract is made in good faith. We will stabilize every nation internally within itself to establish its inner peace, because inner peace is the banner of sovereignty. So the world economy is 200 years old, and the center of the world economy geographically is the east shore of the White Sea. And the reason why is that half of the world is ocean, and many men went this way and never came back because it's too vast. The world is too vast. So these land masses, um, are a world of their own. And the only way to move from one part of the landmass to the other, um, with economic power, is on those waterways. 200 years ago, the world economy began, um, and it was done by sailboats, using wind power. And 100 years ago, they developed a engine that would not only allow them to get more material from thousands of feet under the ground than they had ever gotten, and allowing them to build more infrastructure on this planet than man had ever known, but it also allowed them to travel with great speed, and it created this technological revolution. And technology on this planet is 200 years old. There's no technology. There's no sense of tech. There's no electronics, nothing. So this is the Great Crossing from the west to the east and from the east to the west. You take the rivers of Russia down, you take the rivers of Europe down, and you come through that waterway. And if you don't have a ship, you're never going to have a big economy. And they come through this Red Sea and out around. And that makes the place that we're talking about here today the face of the Great Crossing. They directly face the gateway of the world economy. This is the gateway. It's a double door, the north gate and the south gate. For a year and 4 months, the 2 million people have been here on the grass and sand in the um, west of the country of Gaza. And uh, this week, they began to pack their makeshift shelters and whatever they had, and they waited here. Actually, rather, they did not take Salahuddin. As from all the images, they actually took the beach walkway. So they had waited here at Nuseirat and Baraj. And today, 300,000 people just walked right up this road back to the city in the north, Gaza City, Jabalia, Beit Hanun, and Beit Lahia. And this is Gaza City. These are satellite images frozen in time. Looking at the shoreline beach side of Gaza City, the satellite images here are from October 30th of 2023, about 20 days into the massive airstrike campaign. Some of the evidence is visible, and that was just a small time into the beginning of the attack. There is focalization of the bombings, and this was described by people. This is off of Al Shahada Street, Boulevard Avenue. And you can see that this section has been bombarded into ruin. And this is from October 19th. And the newest one from this section is the 30th. As you go through the city, you see that most of these structures are still intact, but here again, a city block, the bombardment was focalized. You can see all of this was bombarded near Damascus Street. And what is significant about those areas that we just saw here near Zaytun and here by Al Quds, down from Al Aqsa University, walk over, is that they are to travel through Gaza City. To travel through Gaza, there is one very essential highway. It's the Salahuddin Highway, and that would take you through every city from the north to the south. And from that's this road here, and from that street, there are two major avenues that take you down to the port. And a port is an essential place. It's a very important infrastructure for any city. You can see that there's only two roads that take you down. They are here, this road, and this road. And so that's where we did see a focalization of the bombing. We see it along these two main roads here. These are essential transportation routes. And then we saw another one here towards the Gaza city center, which was on another connecting, and it looks like a very large transportation street. And what we see about searching the satellite imagery for Gaza, we found that all of the rest of the imagery for it on these maps are from November of 2023, which is the second month of the bombing. And to this information is frozen in time. It is they're freezing it on the day before they have done the evil deeds. So just imagine if they just go ahead and just update the images. The shockwave that will go through every intelligent human life on this planet, the shockwave that will go through them. To witness that is a smoking gun. I was able to see the damages in November already focalized at Sheikh Radwan, as we knew from the reports that they were attacking them heavily in Sheikh Radwan and Al Shati camp, which are here on the beach side of Gaza City, and in parts of Jabalia. And apart from those limited damages, the destruction that Netanyahu has done, he has tried to make it secret. He is frozen in time, and he's hanging on to a artificial reality. I am going to go through that top secret blueprint of the evil empire that we now unveiled, the super weapon. The super weapon, I was able to collect about 100 stories of journalists, days of research, and that is out of the 300 that were targeted. I would like to look further into depth on all of these doctors, these healthcare workers that were targeted, into their stories, which would take days more of time, and to learn who are those 37,000 people on the kill list. These are the images I was able to collect of the fallen journalists. All of these journalists gave their life for us to get this top secret information. That one's still alive. These people sacrificed their life. They sacrificed their family's life. Their families died for this. Their families died to make sure that information stayed secret, to give him a little longer in a artificial reality. These people sacrificed and sacrificed and sacrificed. Netanyahu used 5 weapon systems in Gaza. He used a high altitude traffic tracking drone named Hermes. He used an artificial intelligence named Gospel to mark locations of infrastructure with the largest volumes of movement of pedestrians and vehicles directly linked to the individuals on the kill list. But what does that mean? Any location that had a large number of the movement of people that were connected with the people on that list were marked by gospel. Those are innocents. That means that if the journalist, if there was a couple of journalists, which you will learn, they're the couple of journalists, 2 journalists, and they're on the kill list, and those journalists are in a place where there's a lot of people moving around, going to and from and to and from, this is a hit. This is marked by gospel. He used an artificial intelligence named Shield that was going to fly a fleet of unmanned F-16s named Legion X so that they could drop 2,000-pound payloads, 2,000 to 1,000-pound bombs onto infrastructure that were marked by the Lavender AI and the Gospel AI. He used helicopter drones with artificial intelligence to scan all of the faces on the streets and compare it to a database of all the citizens of Gaza, facial recognition, and he used those helicopter drones to scan for all of the active cell phones on the street and geolocate them. And not only to geolocate them, it works exactly like all the spyware does. It's very easy, simple, and well-known spyware. The spyware does, they mimic the cell tower. The phone doesn't know anything except that it connects. And then they have the ability to download all the text messages from that phone. They have the ability to look through the cameras on the phone, and they have the GPS on the phone. And we know that he, as you'll see in this description, that um, he was geolocating. That the lavender kill list was made to um, the lavender kill list was made um, to when the I will describe it, that the lavender kill list, it had a list of 37,000 names, and it was made to anyone with the social media connections was included on this kill list. And who is going to have a social media connection to the 37,000 people? The family. Who else? The family, the relatives. And the last weapon system was he used the tanks to shell with artillery the hospitals mainly, and some random buildings on streets where the helicopter drone told them to. Always where people were taking refuge. October of 2023, 1 million people from Gaza City evacuated to south of Gaza because the number of airstrikes hitting the city every night. At the end of October, 50 journalists were killed in their home along with their family and relatives. 20 to 50 people at once were killed at the residence of each journalist killed in October of 2023. Video records show 2,000-pound airstrikes, and the scenes of aftermath show demolition of multi-level structures. So this is an example of a 2,000-pound bomb. You can see it coming in here. It's like this big thing, and you can really see the size in comparison onto, and then to see what it's done. And often, like nearly all the time at that impact, the building uh, falls down onto itself because they are hitting the core support structure. And to give you a vivid example of it, so you're going to see a number of missiles fly into this building. One, that's the second one. So in this particular scene, you can see the actual falling of the missile, and you can see what it's done. So they basically, to describe it, a missile hits the building, another missile hits the building, and another one comes straight down the core into the building, and another one comes straight down into the core of the building. So how is it possible that you are going to be flying an F-16 and you're going to fire 4 missiles in 5 seconds, dead center, down into the core of the structure? So that is an example of the advanced warfare targeting of what that AI directed fleet of bombers can do. Um, Netanyahu admitted that 2 million people of Gaza, they were given a number from 1 to 100. And if you're 100, you are Hamas. And 37,000 people were marked as 100. And the software named Lavender is the database of the information for those 37,000 people. And that database included the home address of those people. In October of 2023, the Lavender AI commanded a fleet of F-16s named Legion X. The Legion X dropped 2,000-pound bombs on the home addresses, the government offices, and the hospitals. Within a couple of days, there was 30 healthcare workers, like doctors, killed. By a month later, there was 200 healthcare workers killed. And after a couple of months, there was like 400 healthcare workers killed. Within 1 week of the start of the attacks, there was 4,000 people bodies counted, and there was thousands more under the rubble. That means that 1,000 people were killed every day in the first week of Netanyahu's vicious bombardment. Airstrikes fell heavily in the night times. The average number of airstrikes every day in the month of October of 2023 was 500 airstrikes every 24 hours. There are several tens of billions of dollars contracts for the 2,000-pound bomb production, which was used in these main airstrikes campaign. It endured for 3 months, from October to December. Their publicly named targets are Hamas, anyone with the same name as Hamas, any relatives of Hamas, and anyone with a social media connection to Hamas, which are the family and the relatives of anyone on the Lavender kill list. The Shield AI is installed into all the F-16 fighter jets. All of the F-16s have been converted to unmanned autonomous bombers, and that is due to the flight instability. And it is a fact of technology that if there were a fleet of AI bombers, in which we know there had to have been, it would be impossible for you to put a human pilot into the swarm because the swarm is using calculations and moving at a superhuman rate of calculation. And any human pilots and operators involved in that situation will it's it's doom. You'll make a mistake. You can't keep up with them. You can't. So we know that this was done autonomously because um, twice Netanyahu had to scramble his fighter jets and all of his air force. He had to scramble them up into the air in order to carry out campaigns. And when he did, he got help from other countries and got a total number of 150 planes in the sky. 150 planes in the sky is what Netanyahu was able to do with help. And he was doing 500 strikes a night, 500 strikes every 24 hours. Impossible that any humans were involved. It's impossible that you would be able to carry out that sophisticated of an attack with humans and that quickly and ever. So the in 4 days from October 7th to 11th, the Shield AI directed F-16 strikes autonomously on Gaza. 23,000 residences struck, 50 schools struck, and 10 health facilities struck in 4 days. 4 days of strikes. He went right for the residences. He went straight for the schools. He went right for those health facilities in the first instant. He went right for the media office. He went right at him. He went right for the journalists. He went right at him. There was a huge number of doctors killed within the first week. He went right for them. The ferocity of the bombardment killed 10,000 people in October. The airstrikes struck terror into the hearts of mankind. When when I saw October 7th, Allahu Akbar, and I think that most of the world would agree that we're not concerned about any kind of Hamas whatsoever, and October 7th was nothing. But when we saw Netanyahu, terror, the terror that was struck, this is the scariest story I've ever heard. This is so scary. Of the number of things that I have not said, that we don't even say in this hour-long video. They are terrifying. One million people became refugee from Beit Hanun, Beit Lahia, Jabalia, Gaza City. When the cities fled for refuge, the Lavender AI was no longer able to use the home address to kill the 37,000 people in the database. November of 2023, 50 more journalists are killed. Most of them had fled from their homes in the north and now were living at a shelter with no address. The 50 journalists who were killed in November were almost all killed in their tents with their family and relatives who were living in the same shelter. Each journalist killed along with his family amounted to 20 or 50 people killed in 1 second, in one airstrike. A journalist being airstruck with his family, an extended family, when he is displaced from his home and has no address, is the essence of what they said. Where is daddy? Handfuls of the journalists survived the airstrike on their refugee shelter because they were not there at the time of the airstrike. They had been in press tents or they're giving health care. Press tents were set up outside all of the medical structures where the doctors for trauma patients were located. Journalists spent all day in the press tents near the doctors because that's where the first responders are, and that is where the story is. These journalists lost all of their family and their relatives in an airstrike while they were away at work. We know that geolocation could not be responsible for the airstrike because handfuls of journalists were away from home on the job with the phone at the time of the airstrike. It is necessary that those sleeping quarters themselves were the coordinates, that Netanyahu wrote a list every day. It was the list of who was going to go on the airstrikes. And that and those locations, the GPS coordinates that the bombers were sent to was not where daddy had a cell phone. It was where daddy left his family. So they were tracking the cell phones of the family, and they used the number of cell phones connected with that person that they wanted to kill as a ghost signal, that when there was a good number of cell phones all together that were connected, they would hit them, that place. We know that all of the leaked information about um, killing 20 casualties, allowing casualty, um, killing overkill. We know that all of this overkill that was written into the system for 20 overkills and 100 people's lives robbed, that those were the journals were designated them because they lost 20 to 50 people at once. It's it's only possible that the 100 journalists killed in the first 60 days are designated as are on the kill list. Those people were on the kill list. It is essential that all of the doctors and all the journalists were 1000%. Their names were on those kill lists by Lavender. To kill all 37,000 on the list, Netanyahu would need 600 airstrikes every 24 hours for 60 days. He was not able to keep pace of airstrikes in November. He decreased by half the number every 24 hours in November compared to October. November, Netanyahu did 250 airstrikes each 24 hours. December, the pace of airstrikes continued at the same rate as November. And in January of 2024, the airstrikes dramatically decreased for 90 days until April. At the end of December, it was day 100, and there's 200 journalists killed. Netanyahu's rate of airstrikes was 15,000 in October, 7,000 in November, 7,000 in December. At the end of his main campaign, he did 30,000 airstrikes in 100 days. And these are just reference numbers. These are these are about the proportions. These are the proportions, maybe not the exact number. And Netanyahu did not find all the people on the list. It was necessary that every day Netanyahu made a kill list of names that the Legion X was going to dispatch to kill. And that someone in the IT department said, check on the list, donk. And those people are the worst human beings. The location of the family was the explicit target of the airstrikes on every journalist, and they were on the Lavender kill list. The information of the location of the journalist family in refuge could only be gathered visually or with the phones. Geolocation. The number of casualties in each journalist's family demonstrated that the size of the weapon used was the 1,000 and 2,000 pound bombs. So when they wanted a journalist on the kill list, they sent 1,000-pound bombs. To carry that size bomb, it was necessary to use the Legion X F-16s. You can't carry a 1,000-pound bomb on a helicopter drone. The journalists were high priority targets. The system directed large number of casualties purposely for every journalist. These are the helicopter drones. This is an example of how big, how much firepower they were using. You can see that this is a four-story building, and you could just see the size of the bombings. And you can even see here the amount of demolition that has been done, which the Google has frozen in time. I'm going to tell you a secret about Google at the end. This is the one of two mass bombings where like 400 people were killed in 1 second. 1 second to kill hundreds. And this is the strike on Jabalia. There's multiple impact craters, five impact craters. Exactly like we saw in the video where you see a bomb upon bomb upon bomb and they're all dead center. And here's another example of the size of, this is an impact crater, and this is the size of, you can see how far down it is. The size of the crater, and there's a person up there. Insane, huge, big craters. Helicopter drones surveilled all of the city streets and pathways of the refugee camps for displaced people. The helicopter drones traveled in fleets known as swarms, and swarms could consist of sniper drones, drones with small bombs, and drones with missiles. The bombs are for attacking groups of people standing on a street. The missiles are for moving targets like vehicles. They can stay airborne for 12 hours at a time, and every drone has multiple cameras that they're scanning the streets looking for faces, and antennas that mimic the cell phone towers. So they can, if they get your phone, they got your pictures, your facial ID. the helicopter drones read all text messages, looked through the phone camera. They sent information to the Gospel artificial intelligence system so that they could send big payloads. So the helicopters are not capable of demolishing infrastructure at all. So when they gathered the information, they exported it to the other artificial intelligence system named um, Gospel, so that it could direct heavy bombs onto any target. This information gathered by these little helicopter drones, the mimicking of the towers, to gather the information from the cell phones, this was essential because in October, 10 days after the start of the bombing, 1 million people became refugee. They left their home address and they could not be located in any way except by those phones and by facial recognition. The only way possible for Netanyahu to locate displaced people's family would be as if he was using the information from the phone camera and text messages in addition to street sweeping. The street sweeping surveillance alone can never achieve the rate of geolocation of a journalist's family in 100 days, which Netanyahu was seen to do. It would have been necessary that the journalist's family are part of the geolocation process for directing the Legion X. The Gospel is the name of the software system that was the database for anyone that wasn't already on that lavender kill list, so that the direction of large bombs could be achieved. The Gospel, it means good news story. The IDF and the Infotech wings gets a link. They click on a button. It auto deploys the fleet. The swarms, they leave the area and they're not getting radio signals, and no operator is joysticking his way through this. Never. These are autonomous. You dispatch and they go to predetermined coordinates. And this was repeated by all of these defense contractors and their fancy YouTube channels. They they told you in their own lips that's what these do. They're automated. The bombs are automatic by GPS. The helicopter drones, in addition to facial recognition and mimicking a tower, had the small arms, as I said, the sniper, the bombs, the missiles. They gave geolocation information to tanks to shell the general area of a signal of a cell phone, which the drones had deemed that they should target. So the tanks are getting the information from the helicopter drones. And the helicopter drones are giving information to all the systems. And here is an example of a tank directing fire onto a building. You could see that they were able to get more firepower directed into their evil plan by coordinating those systems. And the coordination of those systems is just bottom line. They were like, you want all the bells and whistles on your drone, don't you? That's what they did. And they went proudly selling it. And here is the exact model that the Israelis are using for the missiles. This is the drone. These are the missiles that are going to target a moving vehicle. So the difference between a human sniper and a drone sniper, it can be seen from the video records. And this is some of those essential keystone stories that unveiled That's the secret technology. They were smoking guns stories that no one could ever talk their way out of. Drones shoot downwards. A drone is going to be shooting from this angle, and that's something that snipers could never do. The drones have an anti-recoil algorithm which calculates the exact kickback from a from that exact ordinance and calibrates the flight stabilizer by automatic calculation AI faster than you could ever blink your eye, and it stops that it counters that recoil, and it allows, not only because of the angle, that's the angle that the drone sniper drones are and their computing capabilities, it makes them um, more accurate, hallmark accuracy, that a human sniper's wait for the target to stop and then he releases his breath. He has to stop breathing, and so he's slow. And um, the drone sniper can hit the target in motion and does constantly, like as if no one could realize it, like nobody could realize that it was a drone, that no human could ever accomplish this. um, the drones are looking at a series of frames. So you're making a moving video at like 60 frames per second, and that drone has got you at the millisecond before you couldn't even blink your eyes this fast. When this drone is watching your body move in the frame, and then the drone is going to know where would I need to discharge this, or what speed, in order to get you dead center when you pass into the crosshair of that space-time trajectory. So the drone snipers shoot to where the object is going, not to where it is the moment of discharge, something that a human could never do. Gaza doctors reported dead center high velocity bullet wounds at the rate of 2 or more daily from November to January. Dead center in the heart, dead center in the head, some cases double shots in the head. The first shot killing the person, and the second one, when the person was lying on the ground, it was dead center in the temple. So, smoking gun. A human sniper could never shoot someone when they were on the ground dead center in the temple, unless that sniper was directly overhead. It is impossible for a human to do it. And in conclusion, the April 1 story that I promised. So on April 1 is April Fool's Day. And on this day, the World Central Kitchen, having gotten permission to break the starvation siege of Netanyahu, where after killing 100,000 people under bombs, Netanyahu was killing 100,000 people by starvation, and 7 brave souls were told, you can go ahead, go. And so they came in and they tried to bring food. And on this day, it was so obvious that it was drones that Netanyahu had to confess. He had to admit it to the public because it was creating too much distrust. That what happened is the first vehicle is struck and the people are hurt. They get out and jump into the second vehicle. Then the second vehicle is hit, and those people transfer over into the third vehicle. Now, in that moment, you could be saying to yourself, I think there might be an Israeli who is sick enough to see the people going into the second car and think, okay, we'll just go ahead and hit him again. And some people think this is true, but um, I will prove to you why that's not likely. First of all, it's not likely because psychoanalysis. And second of all, it's not likely because it's not true whatsoever. I'm going to show you the photos. So all of this killed 7 people. And after that, the World Central Kitchen was so distraught that they said they wouldn't help again. They won't help again. I promise, I swear to God, will never help again. They were so upset. And so this was written by me, your loving daughter, Catherine Anita, on January 25th. And this is the smoking gun evidence for the World Central Kitchen vehicles. So the first thing that you're going to see about the attack on the World Central Kitchen is that the attack is going straight down, like that, dropping straight down. So it was up there. It was exactly there. Not there, not there, not there, not there. It was right here. And the second, here's a better picture of it. And the next smoking gun Sherlock is, and they tried to conceal this very well. The international media were given orders to rip the photos, to pull the photos, and you can still see the truth. There's no top on the car. There's a butt and there's a face and there's no top. It came from downwards. And of course that any Israeli soldier would have enough sense to probably shouldn't do that, but the drones don't have any sense. So and lastly, we have uncovered that Google is hosting the super weapon cloud database. This super weapon of artificial reality is in the Google Cloud database being hosted by Google. And that the name of it is Project Nimbus. And what Project Nimbus stores information relating to the finances of the people of Gaza, the health care, including not does this guy have cancer? No, like the healthcare infrastructure of the people and the educational system, the educational institutions. So they're hosting databases about all of the people, especially related to these. And one more thing, transportation. The Google Cloud is cloud computing and machine learning our transportation, the transportation of Gaza. So they said it on their own lips, and the this is these weapons are exactly what will end life as you know it for all the journalists of all the world. All of the journalists of the entire world can take one look at this and know that life as you know it ended, and none of them would ever support the fruition of this artificial reality. But because of the infrastructure of power of the infrastructure of power in the world currently is that a world economy is dominating the life of mankind because they the ability to use um, resources to control the life of millions of people. They are controlling millions of lives with using these resources. It's how they do it. In Israel, it's gas. So, um, in the last year, I immediately saw Gaza. I immediately needed to know everything about October 7th. I immediately needed to track and to keep care of what is going on here and to know about it every single day. What are we doing today? Gaza news, Gaza news. And I tried to find a way to lead the world to Gaza. And I did that by explaining the importance of the center of the world economy and what is the world economy. I explained the how there was 5 seas, like water bodies, in the center of the world, and that the land arms are the most powerful gatekeepers of those water bodies. Um, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt are the 4 arms of the 5 seas of the Middle East. I have made video records showing you maps and telling you everything about the gas pipelines. Those gas pipelines are the essential infrastructure of the evil empire to control humanity. I explained to you the engine, and when the engine wasn't enough for you, I explained the history of water travel, and we unlocked the highest tier of the Freemasons. We are Grandmaster Masons, all of us now, and we have their secret plans. So we will continue to document the secret history of Gaza 2024 and of 2025. And Allahu Akbar, and long live the people of Gaza, and long live the oppressed.